Hey trainers, Poke Dad here, along with the songbird of his generation.
KK Shift 128.
And some of you have been asking for the Zoroark Greninja list that we've been testing with, so it's coming at you right now. So if you like this kind of content, please subscribe to our channel. It definitely helps us out. So let's hop into it.
Starting it off, 4 Zors. We have 4 Zoroarks, 4 Froakies, 4 Frogadiers, 2 Greninja GX.
Goo, what is goo? I think he meant to say 2.
2 Greninja GX and 2 of the Shadow Stitching Moonlight Slash. 1 Lele and 1 Tapu Koko.
Alright, so surprise, surprise, 4-4 Zoroark line. We're going to be digging deep to start spreading damage everywhere. The main idea with this strategy is, what we found anyways, if we're not against fighting decks, then we want to go in hard with Zoroark. But if we are against the popular fighting decks, then we go hard with Greninja. Is that about right?
Uh-huh.
And what we found actually is a nice flying flip spread with Coco, followed up by some frog drops. I think we'll just use that, frog drops of 2 damage, 3 damage, and then a nice attack for 110, possibly even a choice band for 140.
150.
That 30 plus 110, it does
You
110.
Who's you talking about, Greninja or Zoroark?
The Greninja.
Oh!
If we're playing against fighting variants, we go hard with Greninja.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Zoroark.
So, a nice Coco flying flip, and then some frog drops, and then either a Moonlight Slash with choice band, or even a Greninja GX first attack that does 110 with a choice band. Sets up super nice for the knockouts. This is not a linear strategy, folks. There are multiple paths to victory. A successful combo that we've been able to do is like a nice shadow stitching for 70, followed up by a nice Moonlight Slash plus frog drops. Gets us to where we need to be. Or, like I said, with the flying flip and then a Moonlight Slash with a shadow stitching. Lots and lots of options. The shadow stitching super good. Shutting off Malamar, shutting off opponent's Zoroark, shutting off Octillery. So, a lot of value in the 2 shadow stitchings. We tried it with just a one of, but there's just too much value. And that free retreater plus the Coco's free retreat works super, super good. Using the 70 HP Froakies, definitely, yeah, the bubble ones are really good, but with Buzzwole easily hitting 60 damage for 1 energy, it's too risky. You got to have the 70s to that can at least, it takes them 2 shots to knock it out. So, anything else you got on this? 1 Lele, just in case you get a dead hand or something. But most of the time with Zoroark, you're never going to have a dead hand. So, anything else? We've tested this real quick. We've tested this Greninja line with more of a Octillery build, and it actually seemed a lot slower from our testing. And so this is like the 3rd or 4th evolution of this deck that we've been working with, and this is what we've found to be the most solid. And we'll talk about matchups towards the end. But that's what we got for the Pokemon.
For the items, we have 4 Ultra Balls.
Shocking.
4 Puzzles.
Shocking.
2 Choice Band.
Okay.
2 Timer Balls.
I hate them.
1 Rescue Stretcher. 1
Okay.
Flow.
Okay. All right. let's just get the obvious out of the way. 4 Ultra Ball to find our parts that we need at the time. Puzzle, definitely good to get back DCEs or a choice band or field blower, rescue stretcher, or even just a Greninja piece of the puzzle that we need. So 4 puzzles, definitely good in this kind of a deck. Most time in any Zoroark deck you'll see the 4 puzzles. 2 choice band. Like I said, it'd be nice to have 3, but with the puzzles we can always get it back. Rescue stretcher is nice to shuffle back in our Pokemon or to immediately put 1 back in our hand, drop it down, get that 2 extra damage, 3 extra damage, or even to drop down the Coco to set up a flying flip. We've used that strategy several times. Lots of value with the rescue stretcher. Field blower, Garbodor could be a problem going forward, so we may end up raising the field blower count. And if we do, the first card on the chopping block, at least in my opinion, is Timer Ball. I absolutely hate flipping cards. I'd rather have a for sure card like Ultra Ball to grab exactly what I need, so there's no doubt, there's no question. But Timer Ball does bring some value to this deck, and
2 for 1.
yeah, if you hit 2 heads, but I'm the kind of person that I just kind of play like I'm gonna flip 2 tails, and then it's just wasted. That's why I don't like Order Pad too much. But if we had access to Level Ball, then that would definitely be 2 Level Balls rather than Timer Ball. So, you got anything else, Shiv, about the items here?
No, not really.
Works for me. Moving on to the supporters.
There's quite a lot of them. 4 Cynthia, 4 in, 3 Guzma.
Alright, well, obviously you're going to be playing from behind, so shuffle draw. You don't want to discard a lot of your pieces that you need, so definitely not, Sycamore not needed, not even a 1-of needed. You're going to be playing in most of the time. That's going to be your go-to supporter, because your Froakies or your Frogadiers are going to get 1 shot or 2 shot. And if you're up against Buzzwole, then your Zoruas are going to get knocked out like crazy, so...
No, Zoruas.
So, in, very important to the deck. So is Cynthia. You need the shuffle draw. You don't want to discard your pieces. 3 Guzma. You could probably drop down to 2 Guzma. And then add in the 3rd choice band. That would be probably my option. What would you see about cutting the 3rd Guzma?
I don't think there should be a cut for the 3rd Guzma.
Okay, there you go. There's his hot Pokemon opinion there. So, that's all we got for the supporters. Very straightforward, very simple, very generic.
Stadiums, 3 Brooklyn.
Well, obviously, we want to get our Froakies out as quick as possible, and Brooklet Hill achieves that the best. What do you think about Nest Ball or Brooklet Hill?
I mean, I like the Brooklet Hill because it's a for sure. Boom, got it. And you can use it multiple turns as long as it's out there. And there's quite a lot of decks with Brooklet Hill, so like all the Buzzwalls, so it's not really going to get bumped that often. And since the field blowers are kind of getting cut in the Buzzwall decks, it really just leaves it out there for you to use it multiple turns. And Nest Ball is kind of just like a one-time thing.
See, that's my whole argument why I would kind of rather have Nest Ball, is because the fighting decks are already going to have Brooklet Hill in play. And so when Brooklet Hill's in your hand, it becomes a dead card. Which you can use Zoroark's trade to get rid of it, or you can dump it out of the way with Ultra Ball. So I see both sides of the argument. You could cut down to just 2, but Brooklet Hill overall is super important to getting your Froakies out on the bench. So I could see Brooklet Hill, and I could also see Nest Ball. I see both sides of the argument.
Remember, you have your Timer Balls.
I'd rather it be Level Ball. I hate Timer Ball.
4 waters, 4 DCs, 2 splash.
This seems like the perfect mixture because if you were going to a more just Zoroark is my main attacker, then you could cut down the waters for sure. You could cut down to maybe 2, 3 waters. But we don't like having just such a linear strategy, especially against the fighting decks. If you go in with just Zoroark against the fighting decks, you're going to get absolutely demolished. You're going to get your teeth kicked in. But if you set up a linear strategy or a multiple strategy where you can go in with the Greninjas, then having the waters and the splash, lots of value. And anything about the energy?
No, I think it's pretty much the perfect number for this deck, especially with the way that we're running it.
Yeah, and that just goes along with our strategy. We're not going in hard with Zoroark because of all the fighting deck popularity. So that's just suicide. That's insane. Yeah, 2 splash energy, excellent for getting that whole Greninja line back in your hand, putting them back down. It acts as a kind of an AZ or Acerola in a way. So, yeah, they take prizes, but it gets it back where you can drop them back down to get the numbers right. So, definitely like the splash energy. Alright, matchups real quick. I guess let's get the main matchup out of the way. Buzzwole Lycanroc. It is definitely an uphill battle. I would say 70-30, maybe 65-35 at best. It's capable of stealing games from our testing. It's actually more difficult to beat the Lucario Zoroark. Is a tough matchup. So is the Greninja, or not the Greninja, but the
Okay.
Zoropod is probably its most difficult matchup, but it's being pushed out of the way because Lucario inherently gains so much from the new set. So your worst matchup is probably Zoropod. You probably won't see it at a tournament. So it's good. And this deck is capable of beating everything else that could be played. It's going to struggle against the Buzzwole Lycanroc decks. It's going to struggle against the Lucario Zoroark deck. But I think if you can get the Shadow Stitching, then that's going to be your best option against like the Paw Patrol, the Zoroark Lycanroc decks, the Lucario Zoroark decks, the even Buzzwole Lycanroc being able to shut off Bloodthirsty Eyes and shut off their artillery. Really, really good with Shadow Stitching. So it does have good matchups overall. Its worst matchup is probably Zoropod, like I said, which isn't going to see much play we're anticipating. So it's not in a bad spot, and it's not in a really good spot. It has, I think, a bunch of 50-50s or 60-40s going forward. So
Do you think it's still Rogue?
I think it is Rogue until it's proven in an actual event or tournament. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if someone out there had some success with a deck like this. It wouldn't surprise me. So, any thoughts? Final thoughts for you?
I like it. I thought it was pretty fun to play it, and I think it's a pretty good deck.
Alright, folks. That's all we got. So, be excellent to each other.
Party on, dudes.